guest, Kevin Baker, recently wrote a piece in the Times called The Outsourced Party. And in the piece, he argues that part of the challenges Republicans have is they've outsourced itself to talking heads and groups outside the party, leading the party to, in a sense, losing the soul. Now, in this, Kevin, it struck me a couple different ways. First of all, explain what you mean by outsourced.
Well, by outsource means they came up with different spokespeople outside of the party to really amplify their message. And this worked brilliantly for a long time. You know, they've been doing this for half a century. They felt the mainstream media was too liberal. They came up with their own alternative media in Fox and other things. They got a whole bunch of lobbyists from business in there to change the whole tone of the government. The number of lobbyists in Washington went up from something like 175 about 50 years ago to 33,000. You know, astonishing. And they got various individual millionaires to come in, set up their various think tanks, the Heritage Foundation, things like that. Richard Mellon Scaife coming and pushing these Republican far-right ideas. The only trouble with this was that these people had agendas of their own that don't necessarily match up with the Republican Party, as we're seeing more and more this year.
Have you seen buyer's remorse when we talk about the Koch brothers, Mellon Scaife, and even on the multimedia side, when I remember after the elections, a couple Republicans had the temerity to say that Rush went too far, and they all had but to grovel for forgiveness thereafter. And even after the Fluke incident, where he called her a slut, where's the, as you write in the piece, where's the payback? Fine, the advertisers leaving, but I haven't heard condemnation from the right.
The reaction was amazing. They almost didn't dare say anything. I mean, Santorum said, you know, it's an absurd thing to say, but he's not in the same business as I am. Guess what? He is in the same business as Santorum, and he is the tail wagging the dog in that business.
But I'm sorry, I'm just curious. Is the problem for the Republican Party that they've asked, it's these outlying players who are the ones who are doing the talking, or the people just aren't buying what they're saying anymore?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. But if the things those people are saying are not in line with what a majority of the country thinks, then the Republican Party is kind of out of luck with all these things. You know, this is, I mean, think a very complicated issue like whether or not to attack Iran, which depends on all kinds of things. Does Iran actually have the bomb? Are they planning to use it, et cetera? But you don't have it. What you have are, say, the Adelsons putting a huge amount of money behind one candidate who won't drop out, saying, bomb Iran now.
And pushing the party in that direction?
And pushing the party in that direction.
You know, when you look at the map, we were talking about this as a production meeting. For all the talk, Republicans, you know, they could actually take, they could have the House and the Senate in the midterms. But I look at a map and I say, wait a second. 1 in 6 Latino voters right now says, you know, if it's Romney, Obama, they're going Romney. Yeah. They don't have the black vote. And they're even turning off the female vote with this whole war on contraception and reproductive rights that for some reason they're refighting the culture wars. Do they see a danger here in so limiting their potential base here to being white guys?
I think they've operated this way for so long that they don't see a danger with it. And it's the same thing that happens when you outsource things from a company. You lose that ability to do stuff in the company. Maybe it saves you some money for the moment, you know. When you outsource, when you offshore things in a country, you know, we've offshored so much of our ability to make things. You lose that ability, and it really weakens your political muscles.
And has it shown up, you think, in this whole primary process? I mean, you look at Romney. I mean, his pivoting and contortioning to try and be something that he hasn't been for his whole adult life. I'm wondering, what do they win even if they get him to say it?
Oh yeah, and these guys are terrible candidates. I mean, really depending on money. I mean, somebody like Newt Gingrich's thing is to yell at the mainstream media. Well, that's great. That doesn't take you anywhere though in the general election campaign. You know, the money advantages don't take you any place. Romney's going to bludgeon Santorum with his money. Well, he's not going to be able to bludgeon Obama and the Democrats with that money.
You know, so I think this even shows up even more interesting. Dom is with a good friend Ed Cox. Look at who in the state of New York Republicans are trying to find for candidates now. It's becoming so geographically polarized.
Posters.
Right, exactly.